You are getting ready to listen to the voice of Dr. Rhadi Ferguson, 2004 Olympian, four-time national judo champion, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, author, speaker, and coach.
Before I start off today's Coffee with Rhadi, I want to play this particular audio clip by Coach Sabrina Parr. Coach Sabrina Parr is a six-time All-American athlete. She's a former ESPN radio personality, and she teaches and coaches athletes how to be their best. She can be found on Instagram at Get Up to Par, GETUPTOPARR. Get Up to Par. Have a great listen and have a great day.
I don't like to work with average athletes because I'm not an average coach. And I don't want average results. So if you want to be mediocre and average, find another team to go to. Find another program. I'm not going to dumb down my system because of the quality of athletes. I'm going to trade in the quality of athletes that fit my system because I know my system works. Your body is never going to get used to the conditions for competition if you don't adjust and practice. It's supposed to be hot. You're supposed to be tired. When you go run on the next levels, it's not fun. It's exhausting. I'm sorry, y'all picked a sport that's only fun when you win. Everything else is treacherous. But it's a great reward when you win. So if you want to be cold, you don't want to be too hot, you don't want to work too hard, you don't want to sweat, you don't want to feel pain, you want to go in the shade, pick ballet or something. I don't know. This is not the sport for y'all. And I'm not going to baby y'all so that y'all are comfortable.
Hey, what's going on? This is Dr. Rhadi Ferguson, and welcome to this edition of Coffee with Rhadi. And I want to talk about something called the misunderstood edge, and why criticizing and critiquing, they're the same, and why Gen X coaches shouldn't change their approach. So in today's world of coaching and mentorship, there's a cultural and generational rift that is becoming increasingly evident. The Gen X coaches, those raised with an ethos of tough love, personal accountability, and a relentless pursuit of excellence, often find themselves at odds with the sensibilities of their Gen Z and Gen Alpha mentees. Now, these younger generations have grown up in an era that champions emotional sensitivity, safe spaces, and a cultural validation over confrontation. I don't have a problem with this. I don't have a problem with this. I think there's a time and place for everything. But this shift has caused and created a growing misunderstanding about the nature of feedback and coaching intensity. Now, from what I've seen, for Gen Z and Gen Alpha, aggressive delivery is often equated with negativity. Like people always say, well, they were being so aggressive, as if being aggressive is a negative. Being aggressive is not a negative. Being disrespectful is a negative, but being aggressive is not a negative. And I think a lot of people confuse aggressive delivery with negativity, with volume inflection with negativity. The use of words that they don't use in their house all the time with negativity. There are different styles. There are different coaching styles. There are different approaches. And the one that you get at home doesn't have to be akin to the one that you get in sport or in business. And for Gen X, it's just simply a modality, a method, a means to toughen the skin and build resistance. To bridge this gap, we must explore why criticizing and critiquing are inherently the same, and why Gen X coaches must stand firm in their approach, refusing to dilute their methodology to appease modern sensitivities, because the game is still the game. That doesn't mean that you don't make modifications along the way in terms of coaching. I am not purporting or saying or promoting that disrespect needs to be at the forefront of the coach-athlete relationship. That's not my deal. I just want you to understand that when it comes to criticizing versus critiquing, sometimes there's a false dichotomy there. And a common argument from Gen Z and Gen Alpha is that criticizing and critiquing are fundamentally different. with the former perceived as inherently negative and the latter seen as constructive. This distinction, however, is not based on the content of the feedback, but on how the recipient processes it and how they process it emotionally. At their core, both criticizing and critiquing are forms of evaluation. The intent behind either can be the same: to identify weakness, to identify strengths, to identify opportunities for improvement, or identify threats for the ability to improve, and to provide actionable insights to drive growth. The difference lies in the framing and the audience's emotional resilience. A critique wrapped in soft language may feel less abrasive, but it does not inherently carry more value than a direct criticism delivered with intensity. The discomfort many younger athletes and mentees feel with criticism often stems from their lack of experience in environments that normalize direct feedback. Rather than sugarcoating things and recognizing the merit in the message, they conflate delivery style with negativity. However, let's be clear now. Any seasoned professional, anybody sprinkling with a lot of salt and pepper and a little bit of Lawry's, will tell you that in the real world, be it in sports, business, or life, the ability to separate tone from substance is critical for success. And I am so effing tired of hearing people talk about, well, it's the tone. It was your tone. You gotta change. No. You need to tone your ears for the message. Get what you came for. And then when you get what you came for, then you could do what you need to do with what you got. But don't worry about the tone. The generations raised in the digital age have been conditioned to associate aggression with toxicity. Social media culture where calling out perceived microaggressions and creating safe spaces are prevalent. And this has reinforced the idea that strong emotions and firm communication are inherently harmful. Gen X, however, views aggression very differently. For them, it's not about negativity, but about urgency, passion, and commitment. About urgency, compassion, and commitment. I'll throw enthusiasm in there as well. An aggressive coach isn't angry. They're invested. They're pushing their athletes or mentees to exceed their perceived limits, to face adversity head on, and to develop a resilience that transcends the playing field. Aggression in coaching is not about tearing somebody down. It's about building them up in the most efficient and impactful way possible. It's a form of tough love that refuses to coddle, but instead insists on preparing individuals for the challenges ahead. That's it. And I don't believe that the Gen X generation should change their approach. The solution to this generational chasm, divide, or mismatch isn't for Gen X coaches to soften their approach. Diluting their methods to fit the comfort zones of Gen Z and Gen Alpha would do a disservice to both generations. Instead, the focus should be on helping younger generations understand the value of intensity and directness. And let's be clear, when it comes to older folks and younger folks, the younger folks are more pliable than the older. They should be the ones to make the adjustment. They have to be the ones to make an adjustment because they need to get where the other people have already been. This means that adapting perspective, not methods. Gen X coaches should educate their mentees on why their methods are effective by explaining the rationale behind the directness. They can help the younger generation see that it's rooted in care, commitment, and not negativity. We also need to teach emotional toughness and emotional resilience. Instead of shielding athletes and mentees from tough feedback, coaches should focus on building their emotional endurance. This involves normalizing discomfort. You need to normalize discomfort. You need to show that growth often comes from the moments of challenge and discomfort. Also lead by example. Gen X coaches embody the very qualities they want to instill: grit, perseverance, and accountability. By staying true to their methods, they demonstrate the value of their approach in action. So what I have for you today is it's a call to toughen up. The world isn't going to soften its edges for Gen Z and Gen Alpha, and neither should Gen X. The lessons learned in a hard-nosed coaching environment are invaluable for developing the resilience needed to navigate life's inevitable adversities. Criticizing and critiquing are not enemies, but allies in the pursuit of excellence. And aggression is not negativity. It's a coach's way of saying, I love you, and I believe you can do better. And I want to see you do better. As a Gen X coach, I can tell you right now, and as Gen X coaches, your role isn't to bend to the whims of the shifting cultural norms, to parents, to athletes. It's to prepare the next generation for a world that won't always cater to their feelings. So stay firm, stay aggressive, stay committed to your methods, because sometimes the best way to show you care is to push someone harder than they thought that they could go. This is Dr. Rhadi Ferguson. This is today's Coffee with Rhadi, and remember, I love you, but God loves you best. Hey, and please, if you have the time, please stop by www.judoislife.net and pick up my book, Judo is Life, today. Take care.
You are getting ready to listen to the voice of Dr. Rhadi Ferguson, 2004 Olympian, 4-time national judo champion, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, author, speaker, and coach. You are getting ready to listen to the voice of Dr. Rhadi Ferguson, 2004 Olympian, 4-time national judo champion, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, author, speaker, and coach.